This is Brandon Hamer. I'm down here at Owner's Acres in Hastings, and quickly we update on what we've been seeing out in the fields. One thing obviously is southern rust. We're continuing to monitor that. We found several more confirmed counties throughout the week. Counties as far north as Boone and further north. So we've pretty well covered the south central area of Nebraska with confirmed counties. Pretty safe to assume it's spread pretty well throughout the most of our geography that we work in. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously there are some treatments going on. There are some fields that where it's been a little more prominent. But just watching those fields, keeping an eye on, southern rust is, we have in our memory bank the year where it really blew up in a hurry and things changed within 7 days. So watch those fields. Also with treated fields, if you sprayed a fungicide earlier, it's always important to still check back up on those fields, make sure, some of the products have nice residual, but we want to make sure that everything's being controlled out there. So one thing we're also seeing on soybeans that we've been watching for a couple weeks here, this isn't new, but frog eye leaf spot, we are seeing it in more fields throughout the area, especially along the southern tier of counties in Nebraska, northern Kansas. There's been a lot of treatments going on for frog eye. Remember, there's resistance to strobilurin has been confirmed for frog eye, so make sure you're using the right fungicide if you run into that situation. Another big issue that we're seeing, again, very localized, just due to kind of the rain pockets and lack thereof that we've had is spider mites. And we think of corn and spider mites, but we're actually seeing some pretty heavy mite pressures in soybeans in areas. This is actually from our field down here, and you'll notice the plant started looking a little gray. We started seeing some leaves turn on the bottom, and we're seeing really heavy mite pressure along the bottom of these leaves. And obviously the concern here is soybeans have a long way to go. When you look at soybeans, they're just starting to fill pods, and we've got a long way to go on these soybeans. So if we leave something like this unchecked, we're going to have significant yield loss. So we do have a treatment plan in place to get these under control. So be watching your fields. Obviously on corn, we see that a little more traditional. You'll see the discoloration along the midribs, and then we start looking at the underside of leaves. You see the webbing. Usually it takes a hand lens in order to be able to see the mites, identify whether they're banks or two-spot. But if you're seeing them in your soybean field, rest assured they're most likely two-spot spider mites. And so picking a miticide that will go out there and take control of them is really a recommended mode of action when you see them start to get to the top of the plant. In corn, when we start to get to that ear leaf level with mites, that's when it's really time to start looking at pulling a trigger. Traditionally, it's along the edges of roads, gravel roads, where you see the mite pressure. But if you're out in the middle of fields picking up some mite pressure, they increase very rapidly, especially if weather conditions are right. So they'll blow up pretty quick. Just something to be watching for. Finally, we are starting to starch and get some milk in these ears. Good time to watch for pollination issues or see if there's any problems. We do have a few missed kernels, perhaps due to some of the Japanese beetle pressure or rootworm beetle pressure that has been out here. But all in all, we're pretty excited. We've got tips filled pretty well out to the top everywhere. The key to keeping these, even though we might see some starch and yellowing in the tips, we have seen those go backwards on us before. There's 3 key ingredients we need to see here on out, and that is sunlight, 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 throw in a little water, and then throw in some nutrients. But ideally, those 3 things, sunlight, nutrients, and water, are key. If we do lack one of those, we can see some of this tip back. But right now, we're pretty excited about some of the potential we're seeing in our fields. And I know that's looking pretty good everywhere except where we've had some wind and some weather. We understand those issues, but looks like this crop still, we got another 21 days we got to take care of it, and then we'll be close to that finish line. So everybody stay safe this week, and we'll look forward to updating you next week.